You wake up in your 20s with the pressure of having everything figured out: career, relationships, purpose, success. And the moment you don't, the moment there's silence, you panic. You scroll through a screen that screams other people are ahead. She launched a business, he got promoted, they got married, and you're still lost. Still trying to get out of bed without that tight feeling in your chest. Still wondering if you missed the memo on how to be a functioning adult. And that's exactly why you need to hear this. Because feeling lost in your 20s isn't a failure. It's the first sign that you're trying to find something real. Let me tell you something they won't teach you in school: the most powerful people you admire. The ones you think are fearless, focused, driven. They all had a moment when they didn't know who the hell they were. They didn't walk onto the battlefield with a manual. They walked in confused, overwhelmed, and completely unsure of what came next. And the reason they made it wasn't because they had the answers. It's because they didn't stop searching for them. You're not late. You're not broken. You are becoming. Your 20s are not a race to the finish line. They are your training ground. This is the decade where you learn how to get punched in the face by life and keep standing. Where you lose people, opportunities, direction. And instead of running from the pain, you lean into it. You dig into the confusion. You ask yourself the hard questions no one else can answer for you. And slowly, piece by piece, you build the version of yourself no one else can tear down. The truth is, clarity doesn't come from thinking. It comes from doing. You don't find your purpose by waiting for it to knock on your door. You find it by picking up the damn hammer and building the door yourself. You try. You fail. You pivot. You work that soul muscle until you stop caring about how others perceive your timeline and start respecting your own. Because here's what no one tells you. Feeling lost is not a weakness. It's a signal. A signal that you're not just floating through life accepting what's handed to you. It means your soul is resisting the noise, the pressure, the expectations. You're not numb. You're searching. And that search, that discomfort, that is the beginning of becoming someone unshakable. You see, the people who scare me the most are the ones who never question anything. Who just follow the script, check the boxes, and never stop to ask, is this even me? But the ones who stop, who freeze, who suddenly feel like nothing makes sense anymore, those are the ones waking up. Those are the ones about to rewrite their entire story. When you feel lost, it's because you're finally stepping outside the cage of what you were told to be. You're standing at the edge of something real, something unknown, and your instincts are kicking in. That feeling you're trying to run from. That's your gut saying, there's more to you than this. So if you're in that place where the path ahead is blurry, where the world expects you to sprint but you can barely walk, good. Sit in that, own that, because being lost doesn't mean you're off track. It means you're refusing to settle. And in that refusal, you are becoming someone the world hasn't met yet. Someone who won't just survive, someone who will lead. You keep thinking you're the only one who doesn't have it figured out. Like everyone else is out there crushing it, while you're just trying to breathe through another day of not knowing what comes next. But here's the truth that nobody posts on their feed. Every single person you look up to, the ones who look polished, powerful, and put together, they've all had moments where they were completely, absolutely lost. You think they walked into their success with a blueprint. They didn't. They walked in with doubt, fear, and no clear answers. But what made them different wasn't that they knew what to do. It was that they refused to stop. They chose to move through the fog, to stumble forward when everything in them said, turn back. I've sat across from people who lead nations, who built billion-dollar empires, who are respected around the world, and I've watched their eyes drop when they talk about their early years. They've told me about the loneliness, the uncertainty, the imposter syndrome that ate away at them quietly behind the curtain. And yet, they didn't let it stop them. So if you think feeling lost disqualifies you from success, you're dead wrong. It qualifies you. It connects you to every person who's ever built something great. They didn't wait for clarity. They created it, not by pretending to be fearless, but by being brave enough to move while still afraid. That's what it takes. That's what they did. And it's exactly what you're capable of doing too. You've been taught to treat your 20s like a deadline. Like if you don't have the job, the partner, the apartment, the purpose, all by 29, you failed. That's a lie. That's pressure from people who never gave themselves permission to grow. Your 20s aren't about finishing anything. They're about starting everything. They are your training ground, not your victory lap. This is the decade where you're supposed to fall on your face, where you take risks that don't work out, where you move to cities that don't feel like home, take jobs that drain you, date people who teach you hard lessons, and then you rise. Because this is where you learn what you're made of. Not through comfort, but through chaos. Through trying and adjusting and getting back up with thicker skin and sharper instincts. People want the success story without the struggle chapter. But if you skip the messy middle, you skip the strength, you skip the substance. Your 20s are where you build the core of who you are. When no one is clapping, when no one's watching, and when everything inside you is screaming for certainty. That's where you earn your self-respect. So don't buy into the panic. You're not behind. You're exactly where you need to be, inside the fire that forges the kind of person who doesn't just survive life, but owns it. You sit there thinking, maybe if I just think harder, the answer will come. So you overanalyze, you overplan, you spin in your own head trying to unlock some perfect formula for your life. But let me tell you something. Clarity doesn't live in your thoughts. It lives in your actions. You don't think your way into purpose. You move your way into it. You want to know why you still feel stuck. It's because you're waiting for a perfect plan before taking the first step. But the truth is, that first step, the messy, uncertain, awkward one, is where the shift begins. Purpose is not found in comfort. It's found when you're knee-deep in the doing. When you try something that scares you. When you start something with no guarantee it'll work. That's when you start to realize what's for you, and what's not. You won't find the answers sitting still, hoping for a sign. The sign is your restlessness. The sign is that nudge inside you telling you to move. That thing you've been putting off. That risk you've been talking yourself out of. That's where clarity is hiding. You want direction. Take action. You want confidence. Do the thing. Stop trying to have it all figured out and start figuring it out while you're in motion. That's how leaders are made. Not by overthinking their future, but by stepping into it. Uncertain, unready, but unwilling to stay frozen. You're terrified of the silence, aren't you? The quiet moments when no one's texting, no one's watching, and it's just you and your thoughts. You drown it out with noise, music, scrolling, distraction, because deep down, you're scared of what you might hear. But that silence you keep avoiding, that's where the truth lives. That's where the real voice, the one that's been buried under opinions and expectations, finally has space to speak. You think your power is going to come from books, from advice, from other people telling you what to do. But your deepest strength, it comes from learning to sit in your own presence. It comes from facing the thoughts that make you uncomfortable. When you stop running from yourself, when you actually sit still long enough to feel what's under the surface, that's when everything starts to shift. Because in that stillness, you'll hear it. That whisper. The one that says, you were made for more. It's not loud, it's not dramatic, but it's there. Waiting for you to stop numbing and start listening. And when you do, that's when you'll realize that your instincts are louder than your fears. That your inner voice is wiser than the world around you. You've just been too distracted to hear it. Stop running. Get quiet. Because the version of you that you're trying to become, she's in there already, but you'll never meet her until you learn to hear her. And this is where most people break. Right here, in the trap of comparison. You look around and suddenly your life feels like it's falling apart, just because someone else posted a highlight reel. You scroll through success after success. Degrees, weddings, promotions, abs, travel, and you internalize this twisted narrative that you're the only one who doesn't get it. That somehow, you missed a critical step, and now everyone else is running miles ahead while you're barely standing. And I'm here to tell you that's a lie. This illusion, this constant comparison, is destroying people before they even begin. It paralyzes them. You see someone else's chapter 20 and you start questioning your chapter 2. You ignore the fact that they had years of silent work, failure, and growth before they ever posted that polished version of their life. But you measure your worth against it anyway. You take their curated moment and use it as a weapon against yourself. And that's the part we need to destroy. That mindset, it's poison. What you don't see in those snapshots is the struggle. You don't see the panic attacks, the loans, the broken friendships, the days they couldn't get out of bed. You see the results, not the fight. And it's in the fight where people earn what you now admire. But when you compare your behind the scenes to their spotlight, you're never going to feel like enough. You'll always feel like you're missing something, like you're broken. But you're not. You're just seeing it through the wrong lens. Your timeline is yours. Your path is yours. And the more you focus on someone else's journey, the more you abandon your own. You weren't made to follow. You weren't designed to copy. You were built to build, to dig into your own values, your own voice, and your own damn lane. But that takes courage. That takes the kind of discipline most people won't talk about, because it's not glamorous. It doesn't get likes. It's just raw, real, unseen work. And that's exactly what you need to fall in love with. Because when you stop comparing, when you stop measuring your value by someone else's metrics, you reclaim your power. You start creating from a place of authenticity, not desperation. You stop asking, why am I not there yet? And you start saying, what can I create from where I am now? And that switch, that's everything. That's where the growth begins. That's where momentum starts. That's where you stop living like a shadow and start owning your light. And let me tell you something. Comparison isn't just damaging, it's disrespectful. It disrespects everything you've survived to get here. You think it's harmless to scroll and feel envy, but what you're doing is telling yourself that your pain, your progress, your path wasn't valid just because someone else's looks shinier. You're invalidating your own story. And for what? A filtered post, a moment, a curated brand that tells you nothing about their real life. You have to catch yourself in that cycle and break it. You have to get so fiercely committed to your own journey that you stop flinching when someone else wins. That you stop turning every success you see into a judgment against yourself, because their win doesn't mean your loss. This world is not a zero-sum game. There's space for you. But you'll never take it if you're too busy shrinking under the weight of someone else's image. And the truth is, most of the people you're comparing yourself to, if they're honest, are just as confused, just as anxious, and just as scared. They've just gotten better at hiding it. But you're here, facing it, wrestling with it, owning it. And that makes you powerful beyond belief. Because when you face your own story without needing to filter it for the world, you stop living to impress. You start living to impact. You start to understand that your value doesn't come from being seen. It comes from how deeply you're willing to see yourself. You stop chasing visibility and start chasing truth. And when you do that, everything shifts. You begin to operate from a place of real confidence. Not that fake, performative kind, but the kind that can't be shaken by someone else's success. Because now you're rooted. Now you're grounded in who you are, not who you're pretending to be. There's a version of you that doesn't flinch when you see someone doing well. That doesn't spiral when a friend announces their engagement or a colleague lands their dream job. That version of you claps, smiles, and then gets right back to your own mission. Because you know you're building something too. And that's not just emotional maturity. That's mental toughness. That's leadership. It's not about pretending to be unaffected. It's about knowing that your worth is untouchable. That no one else's timeline can derail what you're meant to do. Because the truth is, no one can copy you, not if you're living authentically. People can replicate ideas. They can mimic style, but they can't duplicate substance. And your substance, that's built in the moments you choose growth over comparison, vision over jealousy, patience over panic. You want to be extraordinary. Then you better learn how to keep your eyes on your own paper. You better learn how to trust your own gut more than you trust someone else's success. Because the real ones, they don't chase trends, they don't follow the noise, they build legacies in silence, and then one day, the world wakes up and wonders where they came from. But they didn't come from nowhere. They came from discipline, from refusing to be distracted, from locking into their purpose so fiercely that no amount of comparison could pull them off track. And that's what I want for you. Not just success, but real, grounded power. The kind that doesn't evaporate when someone else shines. The kind that's steady, fierce, focused. And if you want that, then you've got to stop asking if you're ahead or behind. You've got to stop letting other people's milestones dictate how you feel about your own. Because your journey, it's custom built. No one else can walk it. No one else should. So when the doubt creeps in, when you feel like you're falling behind, remember this. Your timeline is sacred. Your process is unfolding exactly the way it needs to. And just because it's not loud, doesn't mean it's not powerful. Just because it's not public, doesn't mean it's not working. Some of the strongest transformations happen in the dark. And that's okay. Because when it's your time to rise, you won't need to convince anyone. You'll walk in, and they'll feel it. They'll see it. And they'll know. You didn't copy anyone. You became someone. And that's the kind of power no comparison can touch. Everyone wants to be strong, until it's time to struggle. Until it's time to get knocked down, feel the sting of disappointment, and still choose to rise with zero applause. That's the part no one glamorizes. That's the part most people want to skip. But it's that part, the grind, the silence, the sweat, that forges real strength. You don't get confidence from comfort. You don't build resilience when everything is working. You earn it in the trenches, when life punches you in the gut, and you stand back up anyway. Struggle isn't a detour, it's the damn path. You think you're off course because things are hard. No, you're on course. You're being molded, tested, shaped into the kind of person who doesn't flinch when life turns up the heat. And if you're in it right now, if it feels like nothing is going your way, like every step forward drags 10 steps of resistance with it, good. That means you're not playing it safe. That means you're doing the hard things most people run from. We've been conditioned to believe that struggle is a sign of weakness. But I'm telling you right now, it's the opposite. Struggle reveals what you're made of. It pulls the truth out of you. It strips away the fluff and exposes the fire underneath. When things fall apart and you keep showing up anyway, that's not weakness. That's muscle. That's self-respect. That's power. And I get it, you're tired. You're wondering if it's even worth it. You're showing up day after day, giving everything you've got, and it still feels like you're in the same place. But that's what growth looks like. It's not flashy, it's not immediate, it's not validation every 5 minutes. Real growth is invisible at first. It's doing the work when no one is watching. It's making moves without needing the world's permission. It's pushing through even when nothing around you is clapping. There's a certain kind of person who becomes dangerous to anything that tries to break them. Not because they don't fall, but because every time they do, they rise faster, harder, smarter, and that kind of strength, you can't fake that. You can't pretend your way into it. You earn it in the moments when quitting looks easy and you say, not today. Don't underestimate the power of surviving what was meant to destroy you. Don't forget that most people will never even attempt what you're fighting through right now. They'll talk big, they'll dream loud. But the minute things get uncomfortable, they fold. You're still here. That alone puts you in a league most will never reach. You're not weak because you struggle. You're powerful because you keep going through it. So the next time life drags you into the dirt, don't panic. Don't shrink. Look it in the eye and remember who you are. Someone who's still standing. Someone who knows that every setback is a setup. Every challenge is building layers of grit that will outlast the people who only showed up when it was easy. You want to lead. Then earn your scars. You want to be unstoppable. Then stop waiting for the conditions to be perfect. Because strength doesn't show up on sunny days. It's built in the storm. And right now, if you're in the middle of one, then congratulations. You're becoming exactly who you were meant to be. One rep, one struggle, one comeback at a time. You were taught that quitting is weakness, that walking away makes you a failure, that if you don't stick with something, even if it's draining the life out of you, you've somehow let yourself down. But let me tell you something very few people have the guts to say out loud: walking away from what no longer fits you is not failure. It's maturity. It's intelligence. It's power. And it takes a hell of a lot more strength to leave something misaligned than it does to stay and pretend. Most people cling to what's familiar because it feels safe, even if it's killing their spirit, even if every day they wake up feeling smaller, more resentful, more lost. But they stay because society rewards consistency, even if it's toxic. They'd rather applaud you for staying in a job you hate, a relationship that drains you, a routine that deadens you, than admit that growth sometimes means burning it all down. You outgrow people, you outgrow dreams, you outgrow environments that once felt like home. And that's not being flaky, that's being honest, that's being awake. That's having enough awareness to say, this no longer serves me. And enough courage to walk away without having the next step perfectly mapped out. That's where real self-trust is born. See, change doesn't wait for you to be ready. It shows up, disrupts your plan, and demands a choice. Stay small or evolve. Stay safe or stretch. Most people choose safety. They choose comfort, and then they spend years wondering why they feel numb, why nothing lights them up anymore. It's because they chose the familiar over the truthful. But not you. You're here because something inside you refuses to settle. Because deep down, you know that staying just to look stable is the fastest route to a quiet kind of regret. Let me be clear, giving up is not the same as letting go. Giving up is when you abandon yourself. Letting go is when you reclaim yourself. You're not weak for pivoting. You're wise. You're not scattered for changing direction. You're strategic. Life is not static. Neither are you. And if you keep dragging around old versions of yourself just to keep other people comfortable, you will never become who you were designed to be. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is say, I don't want this anymore. Not because it's not good enough, but because it's no longer you. Because you've grown, because you've evolved, because staying would mean lying to yourself and everyone else. And if you're going to lead, if you're going to live from truth, then you don't get to lie just to make people feel better. And yes, it will be uncomfortable. People will question you. They'll call you inconsistent, impulsive, difficult. Let them. You're not here to live by their rules. You're here to live by your alignment. And the people who are truly for you, they'll respect the hell out of that. Because when you honor your own path, you give other people permission to do the same. So don't sit in spaces that shrink you. Don't play roles you've outgrown. Don't force yourself into boxes that were never meant for who you're becoming. The world doesn't need more people who stick around for the optics. It needs people bold enough to say, this version of me has expired and I'm ready for what's next. You want to be unstoppable. Start letting go of what was never meant to last. Start choosing the truth over the narrative. Start trusting that your intuition knows what logic can't explain. And when that voice inside you says, it's time, believe it. Even if your legs shake. Even if your voice cracks. Because walking away from what's not right for you is not giving up. It's leveling up. And most people will never be brave enough to do that. But you will. You already are. There's a reason the strongest people you meet don't brag about it. They've lived through the fire quietly. They didn't post every breakdown, every comeback, every hard decision. They just kept showing up, day after day, doing the work no one saw. Because they understood something that most people miss. Real transformation doesn't happen when the lights are on. It happens in the dark, when no one's cheering, when the path isn't clear, when it's just you, your grit, and the decision to keep going. You want confidence. You want strength. You want unshakable purpose. Stop looking for it in praise, in validation, in recognition. You earn that power in the quiet grind. In the nights when you're exhausted but refuse to give up. In the mornings you wake up with self-doubt sitting heavy on your chest, and you get out of bed anyway. That's when you become someone people can't knock down. Because you didn't build your identity on attention. You built it on discipline. Everyone's chasing visibility. Everyone wants to be seen. But I'm telling you, the most dangerous kind of person is the one who doesn't need an audience to stay committed. The one who shows up when it's inconvenient, when it's boring, when no one is applauding. That's when character is built. That's when you develop the kind of self-respect that can't be bought, faked, or borrowed. You think you're not growing because it's quiet, because no one's complimenting your progress. But growth is not loud. It's not shiny. It's not this dramatic overnight explosion. It's subtle. It's painful. It's thankless. It's the small decisions you make over and over again. To stay focused, to stop chasing distractions, to do what's right over what's easy. And then one day, you look up and realizing, you're not the same person. You're stronger, sharper, unrecognizable in the best way. And if you're in that space right now where it feels like nothing is happening, keep going. You are not stagnant. You are under construction. Every challenge, every doubt, every lonely day is adding layers to you. Layers that will make you unshakable. Most people only build the surface. You're building the foundation. That's why it's taking longer. That's why it feels heavier. Because what you're creating is going to last. Don't be fooled by speed. Some people look like they're ahead because they sprinted. But they're hollow inside. No root system. No depth. And when life hits them, they crumble. But you're rooted. You're earning every inch of your growth. You're becoming someone who doesn't just look successful. You are successful because you paid the price in silence. There's honor in the unseen. There's dignity in the grind no one applauds. You don't need the world to recognize you right now. You need to recognize yourself. To know that every step forward, even if no one sees it, matters. You are building something unshakable. And you're doing it in the hardest way possible, with integrity, with discipline, with consistency. This is how you become the person who walks into a room and commands respect without saying a word. Because your energy doesn't come from hype. It comes from proof. From all the days you chose the hard thing, the honest thing, the growth path when no one was watching. That's what separates the real ones from the loud ones. That's what makes your presence undeniable. So keep building in the dark. Keep grinding in silence. Because when it's time to step into the light, you won't just be ready. You'll be unstoppable. The day your life truly changes is not when someone chooses you, not when you get that call, not when you get the job, the title, the applause. It's the moment you decide you're not giving up on yourself. That moment when you stop waiting for validation, for permission, for proof that you're enough. And you say, I'm not quitting, not on me. That shift is everything. Because that's when the excuses die. That's when you stop outsourcing your power and start owning it. Most people walk around waiting for someone to notice them, to invest in them, to save them. But if you live like that, you'll spend your entire life begging for scraps of recognition, never realizing that the person who's supposed to believe in you the most is you. You want to be powerful. Then you need to become the kind of person who doesn't abandon themselves when things get hard. Who doesn't retreat just because the world isn't clapping. Because the truth is, most people will only support you once it's easy to. You will have days when the results don't match the effort. When the grind feels thankless. When it looks like nobody sees how hard you're trying. And in those moments, the voice that matters most isn't out there. It's the one in your own head. The one that says, keep going. You've got this. You don't stop here. If you don't have that voice, build it. Train it. Because when everything else falls away, that's what will carry you. This life, it's going to test you. It's going to shake you. It's going to throw every kind of distraction, disappointment, and delay at your feet. And dare you to quit. And most people will. Not because they aren't talented, not because they aren't worthy, but because they gave up on themselves the moment things got uncomfortable, the moment the road stopped being clear. But you're not most people. You're not looking for easy. You're looking for real. And real growth hurts. Real growth demands loyalty to yourself, especially when you have nothing external to lean on. You think the most successful people had cheerleaders the whole time. No, many of them built what they built while everyone else questioned them. While people doubted, mocked, ignored them. And they still didn't quit. Because they weren't driven by outside noise. They were locked in from within. And that's what you need. That internal fire, that decision you make every day to show up, no matter what's happening around you. You'll never become undeniable if you keep disappearing every time life doesn't go according to plan. You have to choose to show up even when you feel invisible, even when you're not sure it's working, even when no one else claps, texts, or says a damn thing. Because if you only stay committed when it's easy, you'll never reach your edge. You'll never tap into that next level of grit that separates those who talk from those who do. You want people to believe in you. Start with you. Want them to take you seriously. Show them that you take yourself seriously. Show them through how you talk to yourself, how you stand back up after setbacks, how you choose growth over comfort. Even when it hurts, the world doesn't give power. It responds to it. And the moment you stop flinching, stop folding, stop waiting, that's when the world starts to respond. So no, don't give up. Not because everything's perfect. Not because it feels easy. But because you promised yourself you wouldn't. Because you looked around at a world that keeps telling you to shrink, to doubt, to settle. And you said, not me. You said, I'll figure it out. You said, I've got me. And once you make that choice, really make it, everything changes. Because now, your commitment is no longer based on external results. It's rooted in something deeper. You become the kind of person who doesn't need to know exactly how it ends to keep walking. Who doesn't need constant reassurance to trust their own path. Who doesn't care if it takes years, if it looks messy, if no one understands. Because you know who you are, and you're done waiting to become her. You already are. You just had to stop giving up on her. So if you're feeling lost right now, good. Stay there for a moment. Feel it. Let it sharpen you. Because you are not broken, and you are not behind. You are in the fire where real strength is born. Where the world quiets down just enough for you to finally hear your own voice. And that voice, it's not asking you to have all the answers. It's asking you to trust that you'll find them. You don't need to rush. You don't need to prove. You need to become. Slowly, deliberately, with grit, with grace. With the kind of commitment to yourself that no one can shake. Because this life, it's yours to build, not to perform, not to imitate, but to live, raw, real, and unafraid to grow through what most people run from. So stop waiting for the right time. You are the right time. Choose yourself, trust the process, and keep going. Even when it's hard, even when it's quiet. Because one day, not long from now, you're going to look back at this version of you. The lost one, the tired one. The one who refused to quit. And you're going to realizing she's the reason you made it.